30-second board, we will be heavy on silly season news as we transition to 2025, and that includes probably the most recent announcement for a team that has triumphed back for year two, only in the 250 class for now. There are rumors they'd race 450s in 2025. That's postponed till 26. But this 250 team, Jalek Swoll returns, and then three new recruits over there, Jordan Smith, Styles Robertson, and Austin Forkner. That is a big move, as he had been with Kawasaki way back since his amateur days. So what do you make of this four-rider lineup, JT?
Well, I thought they overperformed expectation in 2024, and I think that also gave some other riders some confidence to move over to this Triumph team. I think had they struggled, not shown that the bike was competitive, and credit Jalek Swoll for getting those podium performances on that bike. Now riders like Austin Forkner, Jordan Smith, these guys see potential in that team and that motorcycle. Otherwise, they wouldn't be there. These are guys that can win races. They're not going to go to a team that wouldn't give them the chance to go out and win again. So I think it's kind of a affirmation for that team. Is like, hey, this team's good enough to win. Now we're going to bring in some heavy hitters and go chase a championship in 2025. And chasing championships, we know Ricky Carmichael has, 15 of those? And he has a 450 coming. So he got to ride that bike a lap at the Motocross of Nations, and we got a soundbite from him talking about that 450 that he had such a hand in developing.
So it's been a really fun weekend here, and this is a long time coming for sure. You think about this process started back in 2020 to roll out the TF 450 RC Edition Triumph. It's special moment for me, an iconic brand. I mean, this is the home country of Triumph, and to be able to do it and release this bike here at the Motocross of Nations, such an iconic event. It's a lot of fun, very humbling, and I just think about the process and what went into it. I'm very excited with how the bike turned out. I think it's a great balanced bike, and I think it's going to be great in the marketplace. It shows the potential and growth and how big this sport is growing. So just exciting times for sure, and to see all this finally come to real life.
Yeah, that was cool to see him get to do that in person in England. Now, again, the 450 will be out for sale as a 2025 model, but it won't be out in time for the factory team to race it at Anaheim. So that'll be a 2026 thing. Okay, next we'll move over to Monster Energy Yamaha Star Racing, the biggest team in the sport in terms of riders, and they're living up to that rep. So they have brought Christian Craig back to the team to race a 450. Justin Cooper, Cooper Webb, and Eli Tomac are also still there. They will have 4 450 riders, which is wild, except they're billing the Craig deal as a bit of a 250 development guy, team coach, and also racing on the side. So sort of a different deal. But to me, JT, this ties into Craig is very tight with Haiden Deegan. I think the team will stop at nothing to help Deegan develop as best as possible. And I think that's part of the reason Craig is there.
It is, and I also think they just want to see how many riders they can possibly add to the roster before somebody has to step in and ask, hey, are you guys serious with this? Because you look at how many 450 guys, how many 250 guys. Now they're adding guys like Manier and Caden Dudney, and it just continues to grow. And you wonder at what point is over half the field going to be Monster Energy Star Racing Yamahas. But kudos to them. They're willing to go above and beyond to try to win championships, to try to win races. And you look at this addition of Christian Craig to try to transition Haiden Deegan from the 250 to the 450. I think a big part of that is to work on his loop speed, which will definitely pay dividends when he jumps to the 450. So it's hard to knock it. The dedication, the commitment to winning across every level is really hard to compete with.
One other name over there, we've talked about this before because we knew it was coming. Pierce Brown now officially part of the team. We've seen photos of videos of him on the Yamaha. Can you have picked a hotter free agent? You know, when he signed with the team, he was getting 5th, 6th, 7th place finishes. When it's announced, he's now coming off the win in the SMX finale in Las Vegas. So good timing there for the squad.
Yeah, when they announced it, I was like, okay, that makes sense. They like to get guys with potential to go win races. And then he made them look like geniuses at the finale in Vegas. So we'll see where that pans out. We'll see what Max Anstey can do in year 2. We saw how red hot he was coming in to the East Coast Championship in 2024. So they have potential of winning across both classes in every series. They have the best 250 Supercross rider in the world, in my opinion, and he'll show that in 2025 in Haiden Deegan. So it's an incredible lineup across the board. And speaking of lineups that are improving, Jorge Prado moves over to Monster Energy Kawasaki in 2025, and we don't have news of that yet, right? We're still kind of waiting, but we know this is coming. We know Prado is going to be officially here for the 2025 season, and I think big things are coming, right? I think Supercross will still be a learning curve. I don't think they're looking at it going, hey, let's go win a championship. I think they're still going to work him in, figure things out, take the next step, maybe look for a podium in 2025. And then when Pro Motocross comes around, they will be all in on chasing a Pro Motocross championship. But make no mistake, Prado's the real deal. I just think it'll be interesting to see his growth curve in Supercross, and can he be 100% effective and ready to go when that gate drops at Fox Raceway in 2025.
Look, this is the biggest 450 season move going into 2025. Prado coming over here. This is the slot that originally was Adam Cianciarulo's. He's retired. So this is a big move for Cowie. This is why I think this is a risk worth taking. I know that the Supercross thing is completely unproven with him, but here's how I look at it. We know, honestly, that Jet Lawrence is becoming the guy to beat, or already is the guy to beat in the 450 class. And he's already knocked off most of the riders that he'll be racing against. This is a wild card. This is a flyer on how good could Prado be. And Motocross is pretty much proven. The idea that he's going to develop so much in Supercross where he's winning this title 2 or 3 years down the line, that's a big bridge. But I just like the mystery of it. We've seen Jet beat everybody else. Maybe not Prado. I think, JT, to me, that alone makes it worth the risk.
It is, and I don't think that in Supercross that will be the storyline. I don't think Jet versus Prado in Supercross is really going to be on the tip of many people's tongues, but in Motocross it should. But I will tell you, a rider coming into 2025, that in Supercross it should be the storyline, and it will be the return of Eli Tomac. And I don't mean return to racing. We saw that in 2024. I mean return to form. I mean the return of the guy that we saw in 2022. And you could have said in 2023 that he had the championship in hand until the Achilles injury. That guy, the guy that can go out and beat anybody on the planet, I think he's going to be back at Anaheim in 2025. You look at the progression, how much better he got in SMX, the way he attacked the Motocross of Nations, the way he's riding these off-season races. He's coming in with a ton of momentum. He has the confidence back, which is arguably one of the biggest aspects for riders at this level. I think he's coming in thinking he's going to win this championship again, and whether he does or doesn't, that is going to add a complete new layer to this championship that we simply didn't have in 2024.
Yeah, this is exciting that he's back. He's back for everything, all of SMX, Supercross, Motocross, and the playoffs and World Championship. The fans are certainly going to like it, but this is not going to be a joyride just to soak up the cheers. I don't know if he's the favorite coming in, but I think he's certainly at a higher level than he was coming into 2024. News came out that the Troy Lee Designs Red Bull Gas team is now going to be known as Rockstar Gas Factory Racing in 2025. It's actually a bigger deal behind the scenes than it looks. It's not just different logos on the bike. The Troy Lee Designs part of the race operation is out. A lot of rumors that they might become the Ducati race team in the future, but that's still a year or two off. Gas is going to be run now exactly like the Rockstar Husqvarna team, not just from the sponsorship standpoint, but they're basically sister operations working out of the KTM Husqvarna Gas race shop in California. And a little bit of shuffling with the riders as well, but on the racetrack, it won't seem that different to see Justin Barcia still in a Gas, but now it's Rockstar. And behind the scenes, JT, there was a lot of shuffling here.
Yeah, and if you're confused trying to figure this all out, don't feel bad. I think we all were. I read the press release about 5 times trying to sort out, okay, so Casey Cochran is moving over to a gas, but still Rockstar, switching trucks, but kind of the same Austria group, right? RJ Hampshire is going to ride the 250 in Supercross, move up to a 450, which I believe will kind of mark the end of the 250 program for Husky. So there's a lot of moving parts, same kind of teams, but moving around sponsors. I think after a couple of races, it's all going to make sense. But yes, to the point of the 30 board, it is a shuffle as, you know, the KTM, Gas, Husqvarna programs all kind of merge and kind of find their new pathway forward. In the end, everybody's still going to be racing. Sponsors will move around, but the colors and the brand loyalties may shift a little bit.
Yeah, and what this has allowed them to do is anyone who is still under contract going into 2025 stays there. Hampshire, Barsha, Malcolm Stewart has another year in his deal, etc., etc. They all stay on the bike brands that they were supposed to ride for, even if the behind-the-scenes part of the team and the sponsorship has changed. And that leads us into a much longer list, JT, of riders who are staying put, because we're in that in-between. Most of the top 450 riders signed 2-year deals. We're into the second years of those. There will be a massive free agent class at the end of 25 for 26. But let's highlight some of the riders who are back. That's Cooper Webb on Monster Energy Yamaha Star Racing, Chase Sexton, we mentioned Stewart and Barsha. So that's something to watch. Jason Anderson as well. The riders who are staying, but maybe year 2 gets better for some of these guys compared to their first year, year 1, like Webb and Sexton?
I think so, but I'm already kind of looking into 2025, and yes, a lot of these riders are staying put. But when you start to think about when conversations happen for 2026, we're not that far away. In the early Supercrosses of 2025, riders that you mentioned, Sexton's, what does Haiden Deegan do for 2026? Does he move to the 450 and where? Does Jason Anderson stay at Monster Energy Kawasaki after 2025? So yes, it's stable right now, but that stability will immediately start fading as 2025 season kicks off and everybody starts thinking about 2026.
Now, something else that has taken place recently, we were all busy over at Motocross of Nations in England, but we had previewed it. We had the great Kevin Windham on this show when he was nominated for the AMA Hall of Fame. He got in, he got his induction ceremony. I think that makes a lot of us proud. As I always say, JT, this AMA Hall of Fame is not just athletes from the sport we cover, it's from all aspects of motorcycling, not even just racing. So always great when someone that we looked up to gets in.
Yeah, I think he or Damon Bradshaw have to be considered 2 of the best riders that never won a Premier Class championship. And the amount of winning they did, the talent they had, the longevity of staying near the top of the sport for as long as they did, never crossing that line and getting that championship. In the end, it's a little bit sad because of how good they were. They just never accomplished that. But man, the question of whether or not Kevin Windham should be in the Hall of Fame for me is a no-brainer. And I was really, really happy to see him as a person and him as a rider both get to don that.
All right, so a lot of great things did happen in 2024. If you're looking toward 2025, though, all 28 regular season rounds, Supercross, Motocross, have been announced. The locations, the dates, the venues. There's a lot of excitement there. Here's what you have to look forward to.
And for that Monster Energy Supercross season, all of the track maps are up on supermotocross.com. Let's take a look at a few of them. Let's start off with Anaheim 1. Now, this is one of the busiest layouts I've seen in a very long time. You can just see how many jumps, how many switchbacks are going on there. Now that's going to make the start critically important, because when you have that much busyness and that many switchbacks, it's going to be really difficult to pass. Add to that, you have a split start. So all those riders on the outside, they've got a really tough task, because they've got a split lane there that's going to make a longer distance to get to that tight left corner. So starts are going to be critically important, which means your qualifying time, your heat race, all those things can snowball for you, and you want to make sure that you get on the right side of that equation, so you get the inside gate, good starts, because that's going to show up later in the main event. Now let's jump to A2. You also have a split start here as well, but you notice the track is a little bit more spread out. So they're going to have a little bit more room. The track's going to be a little bit faster. Now the difference here though is the start. It is a split start, but I think the outside may have a little bit better chance, just because they can carry all that speed and maybe sweep in from the outside. Now we're going to have to see how that all plays out, but those two split starts are really, really important as far as what the results can look like. And I think qualifying throughout the day will be more important at those first two rounds than maybe some of the others. Now let's jump a little bit deeper into the season. Let's go to Pittsburgh. And this is one of the most traditional Supercross layouts that I've seen in a very long time. And that means long rhythm sections. You're on a football stadium, so you have just that kind of rectangle type shape, which allows really long rhythm sections. And basically you're coming out of a corner 180 all the way to the end of the stadium, turn around and do it again, back and forth. And that's going to create passing lanes. Riders can get alongside, make a move, and then make a block pass if needed in that next corner. So this is when you think about the old school type Supercross tracks you go back 20, 30 years ago and watch highlights of. Pittsburgh reminds me a lot of that. The final one we'll look at is East Rutherford, New Jersey. And what I want to show you here is the back-to-back loop sections. And not only that, you've got 4 180-degree turns in succession coupled with those back-to-back loops. That's going to set up an incredible opportunity for block passing. Not only that, the loops, you can get alongside, you can make a move, you can execute the final part of the pass in the corner. But when you look at some of these tracks and you're like, where am I going to pass? You're really trying to plan it out. This track's almost setting it up for you with so many 180s and back-to-back loop sections that allow you to get alongside. So a lot of variation, a lot of difference, really tight. So, an A1, the really open, long rhythm sections of Pittsburgh. 2025 is going to give you a little bit of everything.
Hi folks, Lee Diffie from NBC Sports here. If you truly enjoyed what you just watched, you can get more news, interviews, and highlights by subscribing to the Motorsports on NBC YouTube page. You can get it all, so go for it.